Hey there, guys. We got news on Global that the Intangir Extreme trial is coming tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and do an example video of how to do the two-turn Tifa clear with all missions from the Japanese server, and then when it comes to Global, you can just copy this, because on Global, I prefer doing more of like a slow standard clear, although my Global clear will probably be like 6 turns instead of 2, whatever. But if you want to do the Tifa OTK, here's a way to do it. Just disclaimer, this requires some really specific stuff and some pretty good gear. But yeah, if you have the equipment and the units to do this, here you go. I will point out I'm using Kingdom Hearts Riku as a chainer. That's because I needed a triple cast chainer to partner with my Laswell, and I don't have NeoVision's Cloud, I don't have NeoVision's like Red, etc., on the JP server, so I needed 2 matching NeoVision's chainers. So I'm having to use Riku. He is very replaceable just with any high DPS chainer that can go with the other chainer you're bringing. We're going to use Riku and Laswell. You could use like Red and Cloud, or Rain and or Axstar and Laswell, etc. Anyway, this is going to be the team we're going to be using. We're going to be sticking Vaughn on Fenrir. You can use any Esper you want, as long as it's non-offensive, meaning something like Carbuncle, Fenrir, Lakshmi, Golem, etc. But you may as well use Fenrir for a little bit of a stat buff, because why not? The Mirage is not important. Anyway, we're going to be using Vaughn for 2 reasons. For one thing, he's going to imperil. He's also got a triple cast offensive skill. He's also got Perfect Dispel. Perfect Dispel is very important for doing this 2-turn setup. So he's dual-wielding great swords. If he had a way to give him dual-wielding instruments, that'd be better. We're currently doing that with the material on Rosa, and that's unique. On Global, there's 2 sources of Equip Harp. The Ariana Grande collaboration from 2 years ago gave a second source of Equip Harp. If you've got that, put the second one on Vaughn. I don't have that on the JP server, so we're dual-wielding great swords, which is the next best thing. Now the whole team needs to be immune to sleep, as well as really high bulk to hit points and spirit to survive the ambush. If your unit has guts, or like cheat death, like Queen STMR or something like that, or has it naturally, you don't need bulk, because guts will survive you from the ambush, but you still want sleep immunity. Other than that, he's, like I said, dual-wielding great swords. Rosa is going to be for gauge breaking. Honestly, if you're going for a turn 2 clear, you kind of have to have either Rosa or Mastermind Zahn, because they do the 15-hit gauge breaking skill. Now, forewarning, there is a nerf to barrage skills incoming from the Japanese server. It's not live on Global yet. It might go live with this patch. We don't know. I'm assuming it is, and I'm going to play the team like the nerf does go live tomorrow. It might not. This might be an easier clear on Global if they delay the nerf. I'm going to work off the assumption that the nerf is going in, which means barrage skills are going to be weaker. So anyway, like I said, Rosa is dual-wielding harps, or instruments. That's with the That's with the Equip Harp materia from the Chocobo vendor you buy with Star Quartz. So dual-wielding one-handed harps, we're using the Earth Harp from Chamber of Arms. There you go. And high spirit and hit points, and sleep immunity. Tifa is going to be our chainer. Our finisher. I should point out also, Rosa and Vaughn, as well as Tifa, are using lots of Esper fill materias, like Isaru's TMR, Draconian Phoenix TMR, and we're using a Silka's staff on Tifa. All of these are going to automatically, passively fill the Esper gauge on turn 1 for us. That's kind of important for doing a turn 1 Esper. There's not a lot of room here for getting it other ways, other than the autofill materias. Keep in mind, the friend Tifa that you bring can also equip lots of Draconian Phoenix TMRs if you don't have any of your own. Or you could just skip the Esper mission. I think it's only like a Moogle or something. If you can't fill the Esper on turn 1, just skip that mission. Anyway, Tifa's base form, immune to sleep, lots of bulk. Shift form, we're going for finishing damage on Beast with LB damage. So my personal Tifa stats, we're looking at 250 Beast Killer, 3600 attack, and let me manually add up my LB damage. 100 base, 50 more from the 11 sword, That's 150. 30 more here. That's 180. There's no others. Cloud TMR. So we're at 210 LB damage. So 210 LB damage on my Tifa. 210 LB, 250 killer, and 3600 attack. There's my Tifa. The Riku I'm bringing, like I mentioned, is just a chainer. Now the chainers need either great swords, fist, rods, or instruments, because with the barrage nerf, Rosa and Vaughn by themselves will not be enough to break the gauge. We're going to have the gauge broken by our chainers on top of that. So we're dual wielding great swords on Riku that required an equipped great sword material, whatever. And we're using a fire weapon, so Vaughn's in peril can help us out with that. Keep in mind, his stats are too low to survive the ambush. His spirit and hit points are too low. He's gonna die, but he has guts, so that's okay. And I gave him sleep immunity from the Black Cow. You can give sleep immunity any source you want. Lastwell, same thing. Dual wielding great swords using a fire weapon. No, he has enough bulk to survive, lots of hit points, decent spirit, and sleep immunity from another source of Black Cow. There we go. And the friend we're taking, FCon, is a bro. Set me up on Tifa again. His base form went dramatically overboard on bulk. He's got 30,000 hit points, 2,000 spirit. You don't need this much, but a big thumbs up for showing off. That's definitely the way to do it. Anyway, that's the base form. Now her shift form is lots of beast killer and LB damage, and yes. Let's see the final stats on the friend. Friend has 275 killer, 3,800 attack, and then for LB damage we've got let's see, Cloud Sword. That's we're at 150. No other killer there. 150, 200. Okay, so we're at 250 LB damage with the friend. So there you go. So because the timing on this is going to be pretty tight, I might have to reset the fight. I'll just let you know this is the team, and we're going to go in, and hopefully I don't have to edit the video at all. Alright, here's my first attempt. Here's the ambush. It's going to deal decent damage. The whole team has enough spirit and hit points to survive, except for my Riku. He's going to guts it. There you go. So we survived. Now Tifa and all the units are going to auto-cast these Esper fill things. Esper gauge is good to go. So we're going to go ahead and summon Fenrir for that mission. And again, if you can't fill the Esper gauge on turn 1, just skip the Esper mission. It's not a big deal. But because Fenrir does not hit the boss with any damage, he won't wake up. Yeah, we're letting the boss sleep. Rosa is going to just guard here. Our Tifas, we're going to go ahead and shift both and then get out of the menu because Japan server has not fixed the bug yet. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and double cast Concentration to fill her gauge and do a Magnus. Double cast Concentration and do her Magnus. And we don't want to hit the boss with anything. We do not want to wake him up. So we're just going to use some attack buffs on our chainers, which won't deal any damage, and will let the boss sleep. Okay, so the boss is going to go ahead and sleep here. We didn't touch him with any damage. He's still sleeping. Okay. Notice the boss has these stat buffs. This is why you need a perfect dispel. We've got to remove those buffs without removing our imperil. So, first of all, let's go ahead and use Rosa to start breaking the gauge. Now, you'll notice the gauge is not going to be fully broken. And you'll notice how each hit of her barrage does less gauge break until it's finishing the first cast. Once the second cast kicks in, it refreshes and does max damage again. Then it slowly does less damage per hit. And it stops around 29%. Yeah, so Rosa was not enough by herself to break the gauge. Mastermind Zahn will break it a tiny bit more than that even after the nerf, but he still won't be enough by himself if the nerf goes live. We don't know if it is or not. I'm assuming it is. Anyway, the gauge is not fully broken. Now we're going to use Vaughn to triple cast. We're going to perfect dispel, which also deals damage and breaks the gauge. We're going to fire Imperil. We'll just do it twice. This is going to be 3 more hits. I mean, because he's dual wielding great swords, it'll do some extra damage to the gauge. As you see, the gauge is still not broken yet. So we're going to go ahead and use our chainers to break the gauge the rest of the way. They're both dual wielding great swords for gauge break. And again, fist, rods, and instruments are as effective as great swords. Actually, instruments are the best. Fist, rods, and great swords are all equal. And then we're going to cap our Tifas. So the goal here, this is why the timing is kind of tricky. We need to start the chainers, wait until the gauge is broken, and then send our Tifas. Hopefully I don't fat finger this. Let's try it. So we're going to do this, wait for the gauge to break, and then send the Tifas. Got it. All missions. Okay. Yeah, that was really close. We almost sent them too slow. But as soon as you see that gauge break, pop those Tifas. Boss is done. So we did 1.5 billion damage. So we definitely overkilled. The boss has 990 million hit points. So our Tifas were actually stronger than we needed. We did 1.5 billion. We only needed 0.9. So we did an overkill of about 40%. So you don't need Tifas quite that strong. A little bit weaker is fine. The breaking the gauge on turn 2 is the real tricky part. Because you need like Rosa or Zahn, and then lots of sources of just ways to break the gauge. Yeah, so there it is. Now, if you don't have a way to do the expert gauge, you can skip that. If you're having problems with the 2-turn KO, I will be posting a slower, more standard clear of this trial when it hits global, so look for that if you can't do the 2-turn KO. It's overall not really that hard doing it the like quote-unquote regular way if you can't one-shot it. But there it is. I probably spent more time talking about this fight than the actual fight itself. Okay. See you guys when it comes out to global tomorrow. Later.